I used to think that pain was something you could prepare for, that if you loved deeply enough, worked hard enough, forgave often enough, life would somehow spare you the worst. I was wrong. That evening started like any other. It was late autumn, the kind of night when the city seemed wrapped in smoke and rain. I was driving home from a late shift, tired but eager to see her. I had bought her favorite bottle of wine, a small gesture after a week full of arguments that we both pretended weren't serious. I told myself we were just tired, that love like ours could not simply disappear. When I pulled into the driveway, her car was there. All the lights in the house were on. At first it felt warm, the glow through the curtains, the promise of home. But then, as I stepped out of the car, something felt wrong. It was quiet, too quiet. I remember hearing laughter, faint but unmistakable, the kind of laughter that doesn't belong to strangers. Her laughter. My pulse quickened. I tried to tell myself it was nothing. Maybe a friend from work, maybe her brother visiting. Anything but what my gut already knew. I walked to the front door and noticed it was unlocked. The smell hit me first. Perfume, wine, and something else. Something that didn't belong. And then I heard a whisper, a man's voice, her voice answering, soft, intimate. I can still hear it. My hand trembled as I turned the knob. The door creaked open, slow and cruel. I took one step inside and time split in half. There they were, two shadows where there should have been one. She froze when she saw me, eyes wide, the color draining from her face. The man scrambled for his shirt, muttering something I didn't hear. I couldn't move, couldn't speak. The world collapsed into silence. Only my heartbeat, heavy and raw. She said my name once, maybe twice, her voice shaking. But it didn't sound real. I dropped the bottle of wine. It shattered on the floor, red spilling like blood across the tiles. That sound, the breaking glass, felt like the end of everything. I walked out without another word. The air outside was sharp, cold, and merciless. Rain began to fall, light at first, then harder, until I could barely see the road through the tears I refused to admit were mine. That night, something inside me died. But something else woke up too. A promise. A quiet, furious vow. I will not let this destroy me. The days after that night blurred together. I don't remember how many I spent in silence. Maybe 3, maybe 10. The house felt haunted, every corner echoing her laughter, every cup, every photograph holding pieces of what I thought was real. I didn't sleep much. When I did, I woke up drenched in sweat, hearing that laughter again, that whisper. I'd sit on the edge of the bed, my chest tight, staring at the empty pillow beside me until sunrise. People talk about heartbreak like it's a single moment, like your heart breaks and then you move on. They never mention the long, slow ache that follows, the part where you still check your phone, knowing no one will call, the part where your hands shake when you see a photo of her. I tried to numb it, at first with work, then with whiskey. It's strange how quickly alcohol becomes both your enemy and your only friend. 1 drink to calm the nerves, 2 to stop the thoughts, 5 to forget the taste of her name. Soon the days had no edges, just a fog of hangovers and self-pity. My reflection in the mirror became someone I didn't recognize. My face was swollen, my eyes red, my stomach heavy. I stopped shaving, stopped caring. My coworkers stopped inviting me out. I told them I was fine. Everyone says that. No one ever is. One night, about 3 months after it all, I woke up on the living room floor, an empty bottle beside me, my phone still buzzing with missed calls from my mother. The TV was playing some late-night fitness commercial, people running, sweating, smiling like they had all the answers. I stared at them, drunk and miserable, and I whispered something I didn't expect. I want to be like that again. I laughed at myself, but the thought didn't leave. That week, I forced myself to walk into a gym for the first time in years. The smell of metal, rubber, and sweat hit me like nostalgia. I used to be fit once, back when I believed in myself. The first day was hell. My lungs burned, my body screamed, and every muscle felt like it was punishing me for what I'd become. But the pain was different from the one in my chest. It was honest. It meant I was still alive. I started coming back every day, sometimes for 10 minutes, sometimes for 2 hours. I didn't care how long. I just needed to keep moving. The weights didn't judge me. The treadmill didn't ask questions. And little by little, I began to see myself again. Not the broken man she left, but the one I was before I forgot my worth. The drinking slowed, then stopped. The sleepless nights turned into early mornings. I started running outside, and just me, the cold air and the sound of my breath. Each kilometer felt like a small victory, each drop of sweat like a piece of pain leaving my body. And then one morning, I realized I wasn't thinking about her anymore. I was thinking about me. There's a strange peace that comes when you stop running from your pain and start running with it. That's what I learned in the months that followed. Every morning, before dawn, I laced my shoes, stepped outside, and let the cold air bite my skin. I ran through empty streets, past sleeping houses, past the ghosts of who I used to be. My body ached, but my mind began to quiet. At first, the progress was slow. A kilo lost here, a minute shaved off there. But it was mine. I was building something, repurposing the ruins. By the end of the first year, I had lost 30 kilograms. 30. Each one a memory, a regret, a night spent drowning in what-ifs. When people from my old life saw me, they barely recognized me. "Man, what happened to you?" they asked, and I'd just smile. I finally started showing up for myself. That line became something of a mantra for me. I didn't realize it then, but it would later become the slogan on the wall of my own gym. The gym, my gym, started as an idea scribbled in a notebook, a wild dream between early mornings and late-night protein shakes. I had saved enough, learned enough, and wanted to give others what I had found, a second chance. When the doors first opened, it was small, peeling paint, old equipment, the scent of new beginnings mixed with dust. But the energy was different, raw, real. People came not to look perfect, but to heal. They came with stories like mine, betrayal, loss, addiction, despair. And I told them, we're not here to forget. We're here to transform. Within a year, word spread. Videos of our sessions went viral, not because we were the strongest, but because we were honest. People saw something in our eyes, the will to rise again. Messages started pouring in from around the world. "You changed my life. Your story made me start over. I saw your before and after, and I believe in myself again." Every message reminded me that pain can either chain you or fuel you. One night, after closing up the gym, I stood in front of the mirror again. The same mirror that once showed me a broken man now reflected someone whole. I thought about that night, the betrayal, the rain, the shattered glass. It didn't hurt anymore. It just felt like a different lifetime. I whispered into the quiet room, "Thank you." Not to her, but to the pain, to the fire that burned everything I was, so I could be reborn. And as I turned off the lights, I saw a quote I had painted on the gym wall months earlier, glowing faintly under the exit sign. "Sometimes losing everything is the only way to find yourself." It's strange how love finds you again. Not with fireworks, but with quiet. Not when you're searching, but when you finally stop chasing ghosts. It was a Sunday morning, the kind that smelled like rain and coffee. The gym was half empty. Soft music played through the speakers. I was cleaning up after a group session when she walked in. She wasn't dramatic like the movies make it. No slow motion entrance, no thunder in the background. She was just real. A little nervous, holding a water bottle too tightly, her hair slightly messy from the wind. "Hi," she said, her voice shy but warm. "Are you the trainer?" I nodded. "Yeah, welcome to Rise Fitness. First time here?" She smiled. "Yeah, first time anywhere, actually. I'm tired of being tired." Something in those words struck me. I'd said the same thing once, not so long ago. Her name was Emily. At first, she was just another client, another story trying to rewrite itself. But there was a calm about her. She laughed at herself when she couldn't lift something. but never gave up. She listened. She showed up. She reminded me of why I started all this in the first place. We talked more each week, about small things at first, music, food, how much we both hated Mondays, then deeper things, her divorce, my past, the long roads we'd both taken to get here. There was no rush, no desperate need to fill the silence, just two people learning that healing doesn't always mean forgetting. Sometimes it means being understood. Months passed. The gym grew busier, but time with her always felt slower, clearer. I caught myself waiting for her smile when she walked through the doors, the way her laughter softened the room. One evening, after we closed, she stayed behind to help put away weights. The lights were dim, the air warm with the scent of chalk and effort. She looked at me and said quietly, "You know, I've never met someone who looks at life the way you do." I smiled. "That's because I stopped looking back." She didn't answer, just reached out and touched my hand. A simple gesture, yet it felt like a door opening. For the first time in years, my heart didn't ache. It expanded. We didn't fall in love all at once. We grew into it, the way dawn becomes morning, almost unnoticed until the light fills the room. With her, love wasn't chaos. It wasn't rescue. It was peace. And maybe that's what love is supposed to be. Not the fire that consumes you, but the warmth that stays when everything else fades. Years later, as I stood in the grand opening of my 5th gym with Emily's hand in mine and the cameras flashing, I thought about that broken man I once was, lying on the living room floor, lost in darkness. If I could speak to him now, I'd tell him this: you'll survive, you'll rise, and one day you'll thank the storm for showing you the strength you never knew you had. Because sometimes the worst day of your life doesn't end your story. It begins it. It's been 10 years since the night that changed everything. Sometimes, when the gym is quiet and the city hums softly outside, I still think about that version of myself. The man who thought his world had ended. But now I smile when I remember him, because he was the beginning. Life has a strange way of rearranging you. It tears you apart, not to punish you, but to rebuild you stronger, clearer, truer. The pain that once nearly destroyed me became the foundation for everything I have now. I wrote a book last year, The Fire That Built Me. It wasn't meant to be a bestseller. It was a letter to anyone standing where I once stood, broken, drunk on regret, and convinced that life was over. I wrote about the silence after betrayal, about the first step back into the gym, about how sweat became prayer and discipline became hope. And I wrote about Emily, not as a savior, but as a partner, a mirror, a reminder that love should never cost you yourself. The book found its readers. The book found thousands of messages came in, people from different countries, different languages, all saying the same thing: you helped me believe again. But the truth is, they helped me. Every story I heard, every person who decided to fight back, reminded me why I survived in the first place. Now every morning, I wake before sunrise and run the same streets I used to stumble through years ago. The city looks different now. Or maybe I do. When I run past the corner where I once broke down crying, I feel no sadness, only gratitude. Because without that heartbreak, I wouldn't have found my purpose. Without the storm, I'd never have learned how to steer. Sometimes, after my runs, I sit on the bench outside the gym, the first one I ever opened. The paint is peeling now, the sign a little faded, but it still carries the same words I painted there on the very first day. Show up for yourself. That's all it ever takes. Not perfection, not revenge, just the courage to begin again. And as I watch the sun rise over the same city that once held all my heartbreak, I whisper, not with bitterness, but with quiet pride: I made it home.